Welcome to Back to Basics. In this episode, we will discuss exposing your existing data lake solution as a self-documented GraphQL API. When I was working with a customer on AWS Data Lake solution, the customer had a requirement to expose the data in the data lake to their consumers in a way that they are very familiar with, like a GraphQL interface, in a highly scalable and secure manner. Let me show you how I leveraged AWS Lake Formation and AWS AppSync in a scalable architecture to expose the data lake to their consumers as a GraphQL interface. First, let me explain what a data lake is. A data lake is a centralized repository that allows you to store all your structured and unstructured data at any scale. You can store your data as is without having to first structure the data and run different types of analytics from dashboards and visualization to big data processing, real-time analytics, and also apply machine learning algorithms to guide better business decisions. Organizations that successfully generate business value from their data will outperform their peers. Customers have been able to do new types of analytics like machine learning over sources like log files, data from click streams, social media, and internet-connected devices stored in a data lake. This helps to identify and act upon opportunities for business growth faster by attracting and retaining customers, boosting productivity, proactively maintaining devices, and making informed decisions. Once the data lake is built, you need to allow movement of data between your data lakes and your purpose-built databases and analytic services so that your consumers can access the data in a secure way. There are multiple ways to expose your data in the data lake to downstream system. Let's explore a reference architecture to do this through a GraphQL interface to your end consumers. Here is an architecture of how I exposed the data lake solution using a self-documented GraphQL API in AWS AppSync. This solution consists of three parts: a data lake, an API, and a CI/CD pipeline. First, you need to set up a data lake in AWS using AWS Lake Formation and Amazon S3. Second, you crawl the data in the S3 buckets with AWS Glue and build a data catalog. Third, monitor any data changes in the AWS Glue data catalog with Amazon CloudWatch and trigger a AWS Lambda function on every catalog change to update the schema of the GraphQL API. Fourth, in the Lambda function, you query the latest data catalog and security settings, automatically generate source code to build and deploy a new version of GraphQL API schema and resolvers, and commit the code to AWS Code Commit. Then you set up AWS Code Commit to automatically initiate a new CI/CD pipeline on AWS Code Pipeline after every code commit. Next, use the code pipeline to build a new version of the API with AWS Code Build using newly generated source code, and leverage AWS Code Deploy to deploy both the new AWS AppSync GraphQL API and the new Lambda query resolvers. With regards to the APIs, allow your GraphQL clients to securely invoke the external API over HTTPS with your chosen authentication mechanism. Activate AppSync server-side caching for better performance on frequently used requests. When your client requests data, you can use AppSync Lambda query resolvers to translate the GraphQL query into SQL query supported by Amazon Athena. Then you run Athena jobs synchronously with the Athena Express library, appropriately timing out and limiting the result set. In this way, you can use AWS AppSync as a self-documented GraphQL interface to access your data lake to get the data needed for your GraphQL clients. In this episode, we discussed an architecture that allows you to expose your data lake as a GraphQL API to your clients in a scalable and secure manner. GraphQL APIs built with AWS AppSync give the clients the ability to query multiple databases, microservices, and APIs from a single GraphQL endpoint. Check out the links below for more details. Thank you for watching Back to Basics, and see you next time.